Timothy stood in the kitchen, barefoot, holding a tray of breakfast, yam and egg sauce, with Arewa's favorite fruit chilled in a wine glass. It was his seventh apology that month, and the third time this week. He had taken the blame for a storm he didn't start. He heard her laughter before she even opened the door. That loud, careless giggle. A man's voice followed, deep and teasing. Then silence broke only by the click of heels and the slamming of a car door. She walked in, smiling of perfume he didn't buy, and wore a dress that stopped time. Her bra strap was slightly twisted. Her lipstick had smudged slightly. Her eyes flicked to the tray in his hand, and her lips curled, not in appreciation, but in quiet mockery. "Breakfast in bed again?" she said, tossing her bag on the couch like he wasn't standing there. "Timmy, you are really starting to feel like my maid." He smiled, a wounded, aching smile, and handed her the tray. "I just wanted today to be calm." Arewa took it with one hand, not even looking at him. She sat, crossed her legs, and switched on the TV. "Good," she said. "Then keep quiet and let me eat." Timothy turned away, but not fast enough to hide the sting in his eyes. He went into the bathroom and stared at himself in the mirror. This wasn't love. Not anymore. It was loyalty soaked in fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough for the woman you once believed was God's reward for his patience. But the truth, raw and jagged, was that each time he forgave her insults, she gave him a new one. Each time he apologized for her disrespect, she believed he was weaker than before. Each time he swallowed pain just to keep her, she looked at him with a little less wonder, a little more disgust. Owode had never seen a couple like them when they first moved in. They looked like a dream. Him, a gentle school teacher with deep eyes and deeper values, and her, the radiant fashion entrepreneur, who lit up every street she walked on. People whispered that they were perfect, but perfection has a way of rotting silently. The truth was simple and sad. Arewa still loved Timothy, but love without respect is like a flame without air. It flickers, it chokes, and then it dies in the dark. And Timothy, blinded by his desperate need to keep her, didn't realize he was slowly making himself unworthy of the very respect he longed for. But something was about to snap, because even love has a limit. Even a heart that forgives endlessly can eventually forget how to feel. Please subscribe. The music thumped softly in the background as fairy lights sparkled like stars above the open compound in Owode. It was Ayo's birthday party, one of those rare evenings when the young and old come together to dance, eat jollof, and pretend that life wasn't hard. The mood was electric. Laughter echoed around the courtyard. Girls in tight dresses clinked plastic cups, and boys tried to outshine each other with borrowed confidence. But in the midst of it all stood Arewa, a tall, caramel-skinned goddess in a red satin gown that hugged her body like it had been sewn by the hands of the gods. She wore beauty like a crown, but her mouth was sharp as a blade. Her eyes scanned the crowd, daring anyone to approach. "Now, wow," one guy muttered near the palm wine table. "Fine girl, but that her mouth fit tear your ego like paper." "Forget beauty," another laughed bitterly. "She insulted Brother Wale yesterday. Oh, Brother Wale said his perfume smelled like expired insecticide." They laughed. Their voices held a kind of fear. Arewa wasn't just rude, she was untouchable. Her beauty was a trap. No one wanted to be the next victim, except for Timothy. He stood quietly in the corner, zipping Motina, with a curious gaze fixed on her. He was new in Owode, a fresh secondary school teacher with thick glasses and a heart full of dreams. He had heard the stories that she had no respect, that her tongue was deadly, that no man lasted more than a week with her. But Timothy was enchanted. She looked at him once, and his heart skipped. She looked again, and he was gone. "Guy, remove Ayo won as he passed. She go roast you like groundnut." Timothy smiled sheepishly. "I think she's just misunderstood. People always judge what they don't understand." Ayo paused. You sef don dey fall. He asked with a chuckle. Be careful o. Dat one no dey see anybody finish. But Timothy didn't hear. Or maybe he chose not to. Because just then, Arewa glanced at him again. Longer this time. And with the faintest smirk, it was all the encouragement he needed. When the party ended and the crowd began to thin, Timothy wiped his palm on his trousers and made his way toward her. She was standing beside the cake table, scrolling through her phone like she owned the world. Hi, he said, voice shaking slightly. I'm Timothy. I couldn't help but notice. She didn't look up. Of course you noticed. She snapped. Everybody does. Timothy blinked. Right? I mean, yeah. But I just wanted to say you look beautiful tonight. She finally looked up, one brow raised. Is that your opening line? He chuckled nervously. Well, it's honest. She tilted her head. Honesty is cute, but broke honesty is boring. You want something? Yes, actually. He stood straighter. A date. There was a bit of silence. Then, to everyone's surprise, Arewa laughed. Not a sweet giggle, but a loud, taunting laugh that turned a few heads. You are bold. I like that, she said. Fine, let's see if you can impress me. Timothy's eyes lit up. Really? She stepped closer, tapping his chest lightly with her long, painted nails. But don't come empty-handed. If you show up without a gift, I swear. She leaned in and whispered, you go smell pepper. He laughed like a boy who just won the lottery. Deal. She turned without another word and walked off, hips swaying, phone already back in her hand. Later that night, Timothy lay on his small mattress in his one-room apartment, grinning into the darkness. He had no idea what gift to buy, no idea what she liked, no plan, but none of it mattered. She said yes, he whispered into the night. She said yes. In his mind, he imagined the future. He would treat her gently, love her unconditionally, show her what true care felt like. Maybe no one had ever been patient with her before. Maybe that's why she was rough on the outside. He believed, foolishly and fully, that her sharp tongue was just a shield, that under all the fire was a soft woman waiting to be loved right. But Timothy didn't know. He didn't know that some fires don't warm you, they burn you. And by the time he will realize it, it will be too late to run. The morning after the party, Timothy was still glowing. He stood by his window, brushing his shoes, when Ayo walked in without knocking, the way close friends do. But this time, his face carried no cheer. Timo, he said firmly, closing the door behind him. We need to talk. Timothy smiled, brushing his shirt collar. If you are here to mock me for asking her out, save it. She said yes. Ayo didn't smile. He sat on the edge of the bed and folded his arms. That's exactly why I came. You need to hear this, bro. That girl will ruin you. Timothy's hand paused. Ruin me? Ayo, please don't start. You don't even know her. No, you are the one who doesn't know her. Ayo snapped. You think we are all avoiding her because we are jealous? Because she's beautiful? My brother, we are avoiding her because Arewa is fire, wild, raging fire. And you are dry wood. She will burn you to ashes. Timothy frowned. Ayo, don't insult someone I care about. She's not that bad. Not that bad? Ayo stood now, his voice rising. Let me tell you what you don't know about your new queen. That girl abuses and curses her mother almost daily. Not in private, loudly, in front of neighbors. And as for her father, she talks to him like he's a street boy. She's a woman with no reins, no boundaries. I honestly think she's under a spell. Timothy blinked, taken aback. I didn't even invite her to my party. Ayo continued. She only showed up because my useless younger sister told her, that one too, bird of the same feathers. She must do what you beg her not to do. Both of them are troublemakers. Okay, enough, Timothy said, voice tight. You are crossing the line. No, Timothy, I'm dragging you away from the line before you step into the fire. I swear, if you marry that girl, you will suffer. Ayo's eyes softened briefly. I know you are kind. You love too deeply. But not every beauty is a blessing. She's not who you think she is. Our own parents have said they won't collect a bride price. They said no man will endure her, that her mouth will scatter any home. Even in-laws, if she ever marries, won't survive her tongue. Timothy turned his back, Silent, Ayo's words sank deep, but not deep enough to kill his fantasy. After a pause, Ayo added quietly, I'm begging you as a brother, Timo, don't play with fire. But Timothy spun around, anger rising in his chest. Get out! Ayo blinked. What? I said, leave my house and don't come back. Not tomorrow, not ever. I don't need your warnings. If you can't be happy for me, then I don't need your friendship. Ayo's lips parted, stunned. You too, huh? Timothy added. Another one jealous of her. Just go. There was silence. Ayo stared at his friend for a moment, his oldest friend, and saw something tragic in Timothy's eyes. Not love, not passion, but a man already enslaved by illusion. All right, Ayo said coldly, walking to the door. But remember today, because you will need me one day, and I pray you survive long enough to say you were wrong. The door closed with a soft thud. That was the end of their friendship. 2 years later, Timothy sat on the floor of the same room, now dark, messy, and cold. The curtains hung lifeless. His shirt was torn at the shoulder, his eyes hollow. He stared at a half-eaten bowl of gari and soup, untouched for hours. Arewa had broken things again. This time, his phone and the front window. After a simple argument about food, she had spat on him, called him useless, cursed his dead mother, then slammed the door and vanished into the night. And Timothy was finally awake. For 2 years, he had endured a hellish marriage built on shame, regret, and the foolish hope that she would change. But she didn't. She got worse. And the more he forgave, the more she disrespected him. Now, with tears in his eyes and shame in his chest, he reached for the only person who had ever tried to save him. He called Ayo's number. Switched off. He called again. Still switched off. A neighbor knocked and picked him. You dey find Ayo? He travel go UK since last year. Now him wife tell us, you know here? Timothy's hand dropped to his lap. The one man who had warned him, the only true friend he had, was gone. And now he was truly alone. 2 weeks after that unforgettable party, the much anticipated day arrived. Timothy and Arewa's first date. He had barely slept the night before, his heart raised with a boyish mixture of fear and excitement. The gift he bought sat neatly in a glittering bag on his table. It was a rose gold wristwatch, an imported designer's brand he ordered from Lagos through a friend. The price, his entire month's salary as a teacher. He hadn't paid his rent, hadn't bought groceries, and had even borrowed 5,000 naira from a colleague to complete the payment. But none of that mattered. If this gift could prove his sincerity and open Arewa's heart a little more, it was worth it. He arrived at the restaurant early, dressed in his only suit, pressed to perfection. The restaurant was classy by Owode standard, glass doors, soft jazz, candle-lit tables. Timothy sat nervously, clutching the gift bag like it held his future. Arewa arrived 20 minutes late. She walked in like a queen who had forgiven the world for existing. Head turned, conversation paused. Her dress shimmered like silk against her smooth skin, and her lips curved with practiced arrogance. Timothy stood up immediately, pulling her chair like a waiter. You look breathtaking. She touched her braid over her shoulder. I know, he chuckled, pretending not to notice the attitude. I got something for you, he said, handing over the gift bag with a hopeful smile. She opened it, looked at the wristwatch briefly, then hissed. This is it, she asked with a raised brow. A whole you spent how long planning a date? And this is what you came up with? Timothy's hands sank. Arewa, that watch is original. I don't care if it was blessed by the Pope, she snapped, tossing the box back into the bag. If this is the standard of gift giving you are used to, I pity me already. People were starting to look. Timothy, face flushed with embarrassment, bent his head low. Please, Arewa. Please, he said quietly. I really like you. This is the best I could afford. I wanted to make you happy. She crossed her leg, sighed dramatically, and zipped her mocktail. Go on your knees, she said, not even looking at him. What? If you are really sorry for insulting my taste, go on your knees and apologize properly. Timothy's hand trembled, but he dropped to his knees in the middle of the restaurant, ignoring the gaps, the whispers, the stares. I'm sorry, he whispered. Please don't be upset. She smirked, then slowly reached for the watch again. Fine, she said with a shrug. I'll manage it, but you must promise me something else. Anything, Timothy said from the floor. Another gift, 2 weeks from now. Something more, befitting of a woman like me. He nodded. I promise. As they walked out, Timothy opened the car door for her, and she slid in like a reluctant queen. Inside the car, she turned to him with narrowed eyes. I heard Ayo came to warn you, she said. Timothy Stephen. Arewa, She cut him off with a scoff. That liar, going around saying I'm a witch or something just because I refused his stupid proposal. Timothy blinked. He proposed to you? She laughed loudly. Yes, imagine. Me. I would rather marry a leper than marry that coconut-headed son of a welder. She gestured with her finger in disgust, calling it like it had touched filth. Timothy felt a pang of discomfort, but he swallowed it quickly. Well, I didn't believe him anyway. She smiled, victorious. Good, because men like that win reputations. I'm not what people say I am. You are different. I can tell you are a real man. Just don't ever bring up Ayo's name around me again. Timothy nodded, the weight of her beauty still eclipsing the red flags waving all around him. Even after all she had said and done, he only desired her more. He thought he was in love, but in truth, he was only enchanted, and enchantment is the cousin of delusion. The sky was heavy with weekend rain when Timothy wrapped his only colored TV set in an old wrapper, tied it with a rope, and carried it to Yaramota's used electronics shop. I need cash, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. Urgent. I'll take whatever you can offer. The woman looked at the TV, shook her head like a doctor, examining a dying patient, and sighed. Timothy, this TV don't hold though. I fit give you 10,000, no more. 10,000, he repeated, crest falling. You will take camp or carry the load go back, she snapped. Timothy nodded. I'll take it. That same evening, he boarded a night bus to his father's village, Owode, just to beg his stepmother for his small share from the cocoa pods recently harvested. The entire household was surprised to see him. You, city man, she exclaimed. Wetin carry you reach here unannounced? I need money, he said, sitting on the bamboo chair like a boy again. Please, my share from the cocoa, I wouldn't come if it wasn't serious. But Timothy, we sold them cheap this time, oh, and we still the share proceeds. Please, Mama, it's for something important. I can't wait. Something in his tone melted her resolve. She went into the back room, opened her wrapper cloth, and handed him 38,000 naira in old notes. No say I no do anything for you, oh. God bless you, Timothy said, his voice shaking. God go bless you well, Mama. For the next 2 weeks, Timothy scouted, begged and borrowed from colleagues, from his landlord, from old university mates, even from his church fellowship, all just to keep a promise to the one woman who had enchanted his heart. At last, he had it, enough to buy her the latest Android phone, a sleek, slim model, touchscreen like glass, with 4 rear cameras and a fingerprint sensor. To someone like Timothy, it was a dream phone. To someone else, it could have been the foundation of a land purchase. But to Timothy, it was proof that Arewa deserved everything and more. One cloudy Thursday, he called her. Arewa, I got it. Your gift. I finally got it. There was a pause on the other end. Then her voice came, nonchalant. Okay, bring it to my shop. Your shop? He asked, confused. Yes, now. I told you I'm not just a fine girl. I'm a gifted seamstress. I have over 12 apprentices. You don't see the place? Come and see your queen in her kingdom. His heart fluttered. When Timothy arrived, he couldn't believe his eyes. Her tailoring studio was large and full of life. Machines hummed, fabrics danced in the air, and laughter echoed through the compound. 11 beautiful young women and 1 quiet male apprentice, all moved like bees, busy but respectful. And then there she was, Arewa, seated like a monarch behind a sewing table, with gold-rimmed glasses perched on her nose and measuring tape draped like royalty on her neck. The moment our apprentices saw Timothy walking with a shining gift bag, they stood up instantly, faces glowing. "Oga, welcome," one of them said, kneeling. Another ran forward and collected the bag from Timothy like it was sacred. They all knelt. Yes, all 11 ladies and the one male, forming a human carpet leading to Arewa. The girl gently dropped the bag on Arewa's lap, and the shop fell into a hushed silence. Arewa, who had not looked up till then, slowly unwrapped the bag, brought out the box, and opened it. Her lips parted in a sweet, childlike smile. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Timothy." Without hesitation, she dropped to her knees, right there in the middle of her shop. "Thank you," she said, hugging him. "This means so much to me." She kissed his cheek, soft and lingering. The apprentices gasped audibly. "Okay, well done," one girl whispered. "God bless you, sir." Timothy floated the rest of the day. If there had been any doubt in his heart, any seed of worry from Ayo's warning, it withered and died in that moment. "She's respectful," he told himself. "She's dutiful. She's kind. Everyone else has been lying." From that day, nothing anyone said about Arewa made sense to him again. He began to speak of her as if she were a goddess unfairly accused. And when colleagues teased him or dropped subtle hints, he'd raise his voice and say with pride, "If you don't accept Arewa just as she is, then you are my enemy." It's that simple. Little did he know, he had traded wisdom for worship, and the bill for that decision was still being prepared. Timothy's life began to revolve around Arewa like the moon circling a sun that could scorch it at will. He changed his walking route just to pass by her shop daily, whether she asked him to or not. Each time he saw her sitting on a velvet chair, surrounded by apprentices who seemed to adore her like a celebrity, he felt like he'd won some divine lottery. The Android phone had changed something. Not in her, but in him. From the day she kissed his cheek in public, Timothy's chest became an altar for her worship. In his eyes, she had proven all the gossip wrong. Those bitter voices, those jealous tongues. Ayo, that so-called friend, was the loudest least of all. And in Timothy's imagination, the kiss was more than affection. It was vindication. She's just misunderstood, he'll tell anyone who questioned him. But these signs were there, like cracks behind wallpaper, and everyone but Timothy could see them growing. One afternoon in the staff room at his school, as Timothy polished his sandals during break, a colleague named Mr. Daniel leaned in. "Timmy," he said, voice low, "forgive me, but how is it really going with Arewa?" Timothy looked up sharply. "Why?" "Just concerned," Daniel replied. "You're a good guy, but I've heard things." Timothy's jaw clenched. "If it's not from me, it's gossip. Don't bring it here." Daniel sighed. "I hope you are not closing your ears to every warning." "I'm closing my ears to envy," Timothy snapped. "She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. If you can't be happy for me, then it's better we don't talk about it at all." Daniel raised both hands in surrender. "I meant no harm," but harm was already done. From that day, Timothy became colder toward Daniel and more withdrawn from others who didn't openly support his relationship. At home, the cost of keeping Arewa's affection continued to rise. She rarely called first. She only visited when she wanted something. Her words were often laced with sarcasm. Sometimes she would reject his hugs in public or dismiss his idea with a careless flick of her hand. But Timothy always found a way to excuse her behavior. "She's strong-minded," he would say. "She just has high standards. She doesn't pretend like other women." Even when she mocked his job, saying, "Teacher's salary can't even feed a dog in this economy," Timothy simply chuckled. He believed it was a way of motivating him. He believed he could win her fully with enough patience. But in private moments, when Arewa wasn't around and the silence settled in, doubt whispered. One night, while lying in bed, Timothy scrolled through old text messages from Ayo, the final one written before the friendship broke. "Timo, you are free to love whoever you choose, but love shouldn't feel like fear. If you ever need me again, I'll be here. But I won't say I told you so." Timothy stared at the message, the screen light reflecting on the tears welling in his eyes. For pride is a stubborn chain. It binds even the willing. He deleted the message. Then almost instinctively, he called Arewa. She picked up on the third ring. "Yes," she said coldly. I just wanted to hear your voice. He murmured a sigh. You woke me up. I have a big contract tomorrow. Don't call unless it's urgent. Click. She hung up. He held the phone to his ear for several seconds after the line went dead, as if a warmth might still be there. Then with a deep breath, he whispered to himself, she's tired. She works too hard. I have to support her. I mustn't give up on her. Meanwhile, Arewa's control over him grew more refined. One weekend, she asked him to help settle a small debt at her shop, 25,000 naira. Timothy had just received a gift from his uncle, money meant to buy new furniture, but without hesitation, he sent the entire amount to her account. When he came to visit her later that day, she barely mentioned the gesture. Instead, she complained about the color of his shirt, saying he looked like a retired choir master. But I thought he started. She waved him off. Timothy, please, if you love me, stop dressing like the man I'll never marry. He laughed awkwardly. But that night, he dumped all his shirts in a nylon bag and donated them to a local church. The next day, he borrowed money to buy 3 new ones that were more modern. Love had made him a servant, a financier, and a clown. But Timothy didn't see that. All he saw was a goddess, occasionally angry, but worth every pain. At the school, his colleagues now avoided him. He sat alone during breaks. People stopped advising him, not because they gave up on him, but because his answers were always the same. She's not perfect, but she's mine. Some shook their heads behind his back. Others prayed silently for him. He was sleeping, and he didn't even know it. One day, during a heated debate about relationship among teachers in the school courtyard, someone made a passing joke. If your girlfriend beats you now, you go still kneel and beg her. Everyone laughed, but Timothy didn't. He stood up slowly, looked at all of them, and said loudly, if you don't accept Arewa exactly as she is, then you are my enemy, and I mean that. The courtyard fell silent, and at that moment, it was clear. Timothy was no longer reachable. The chains of obsession had turned to walls of pride, and the only person with the key was the very one destroying him. It was a calm Saturday morning in Owode with clouds hanging low and the air humming with promise. For most, it was just another weekend, but for Timothy, it was the day his heart had been waiting for, the day he would ask Arewa to be his wife. He had spent 3 weeks preparing for this moment. He sold his small gas cooker and portable fan to rent a flower garden near the riverbank on the edge of town. He bought a custom-made ring from a jeweler in Ibadan with her initials, A.O., inscribed in tiny letters inside the band. He even paid some of her apprentices to help arrange the setup without letting her know what was happening. He had rehearsed his speech 100 times in front of the mirror. He had even fasted for 3 days, praying God would bless his union and silence every voice that had tried to separate him from the woman he believed was his divine portion. Arewa arrived fashionably late, as always, wearing a red off-shoulder gown that made her glow like a goddess. Her walk was slow, confident, eyes shaded behind designer sunglasses. Why are we at this old garden? She asked, irritated. I hope you are not trying to make me touch flowers or some nonsense. Timothy smiled nervously and gently took her hand. Just trust me. She allowed herself to be led into the clearing, and that's when she saw it. Rose petals, a golden chair, music softly playing, a photographer hiding behind a hibiscus, and in the middle of it all, Timothy knelt on one knee. Her eyes widened, her mouth parted, the apprentices giggled from the side. Arewa, from the day I met you, I know you were fire. But I didn't come to quench you. I came to carry your flame. You challenge me, stretch me, and teach me what it means to fight for love. I want to spend the rest of my life loving you the best I can. Will you marry me? There was a long silence. Then, to the shock of everyone, including Arewa's apprentices, she smiled, genuinely, and slowly she reached out her hand. Yes, she said simply. Of course, I'll marry you. Timothy slid the ring onto her finger with trembling hands. Cheers erupted. The apprentices jumped. The photographer clicked away. Arewa pulled him up and gave him a soft peck on the lips. For a brief moment, the sky in Timothy's world turned gold. The doubts, the disrespects, the warnings, they all faded into silence. News of the engagement spread like wildfire. Some congratulated him with weak smiles. Others murmured behind closed doors. One teacher said to another, "So it's true, he actually proposed." Another replied, Let him go. Sometimes a man has to bleed before he learns to bandage. Even Timothy's church elder called him privately. My son, congratulations, he said slowly. But pray without ceasing. There are things beauty can cover that only time can expose. Timothy thanked him politely, but rolled his eyes the moment the call ended. The elder was just another one who didn't understand Arewa, just like Ayo, who had disappeared without a trace. No goodbye, no closure. He wished Ayo could see him now, see how wrong he'd been. Arewa wasn't a cause, she was his crown. The first crack came 2 days after the proposal. Timothy visited Arewa's shop unannounced, carrying some ice cream to celebrate. He was still floating, still high from the yes she gave him. But when he entered, she barely acknowledged him. I'm busy, she snapped. You shouldn't have called. I bought you your favorite, he said, lifting the bag. She waved it off. Leave it on the counter. He stood awkwardly, watching as she scolded an apprentice. The girl was in tears. You are not focused, Arewa back. I should sack you. Idiot. Is it by hips and beauty? If you don't know how to sew, back out. The silence in the shop was thick. Timothy approached her slowly. Maybe you could correct her a bit more gently. Her eyes snapped toward him. So now you are defending her. You are supposed to be supporting me, not teaching me how to run my business. I didn't mean. Then don't speak, Timothy. Her tone was sharp. She didn't whisper. And the same apprentice who had watched her kneel to accept his ring now saw her cut him down like a stubborn fabric. Timothy laughed awkwardly. Sorry, I just thought I could help. She didn't reply. Instead, she picked up her phone and began scrolling. That evening, Timothy sat in his room, holding the ring box in his hand. He wasn't doubting the proposal, not yet. But a small voice had started speaking again, the same one he had silenced since Ayo's departure. He ignored it. She was stressed. That girl was messing up her design. She was right to be angry. Still, something inside him shifted. As preparation for the wedding began, Arewa took full control. We are not using your church, she declared one day. Your pastor talks too much. But I've been there for years. I don't care. My uncle's hall is better, and the decor must be handled by my people, not your low-budget friends. Timothy nodded like a student before his headmistress. He didn't argue, not because he didn't want to, but because the fear of losing her was stronger than the desire to be respected. Love had become performance. His role was obedience. One night, while drinking Gary alone and staring at their pre-wedding photos on his phone, Timothy whispered something he didn't even believe anymore. She's just misunderstood. But deep down, the illusion was cracking. He was engaged. The town knew. Backing out now would be shameful. He clung tighter to the dream, even as the reality began to rot beneath it. The sun rose over Owode that morning with an unusual intensity, as though the heavens themselves were holding their breath. From the compound of the rented event hall to the dusty roads of the village, excitement crackled like thunder in the air. It was Timothy and Arewa's wedding day, a union that has stirred whispers, prayers, and warning alike. The event hall was decorated lavishly in gold and wine. Arewa had insisted on a royal theme with imported fabrics, hired decorators from Ibadan, and a 6-layer cake taller than the best man. She had rejected Timothy's church hall, saying it looked like a poultry house with a cross. Instead, her uncle's hall became the venue, and her family handled everything, from ushers to food, down to the MC. Timothy's friends sat quietly under a tent on the left side of the compound. Most of them had not spoken to him in months. Some were there out of obligations, some out of curiosity. Ayo was not among them. Word had gone on that he had left the country months ago. Some said he was in Ghana. Others believed he'd gone to Canada. As the guests arrived, Timothy stood nervously in his burgundy agbada, eyes scanning the crowd, his heart raised, not with joy, but with something unnamed, something heavy. Relax, his best man whispered. You are marrying a queen. Timothy smiled weakly. Yeah, a queen. Then she arrived. Arewa stepped out of a white Toyota Highlander, her gown glistening like a lake beneath the sun. Her headpiece sparkled, and her makeup was flawless, powerful, intimidating, divine. By her expression, cold, like a monarch forced to marry a commoner. As she walked down the aisle to meet Timothy at the altar, guests gasped, phones flew into the air, and whispers followed her like perfume. Even Timothy, as he watched her approach, felt unworthy. His knees nearly buckled. "You look breathtaking," he whispered when she stood beside him. She didn't reply. She simply adjusted her veil and muttered, "Let's finish this. I have another appointment by evening." The traditional rites went smoothly, and it was time for the elders to speak. Timothy's uncle, Baba Dada, stood up to bless the couple. "We pray that this home shall be filled with peace, love, and respect," he said. "Especially respect. The woman must honor her husband." At the word honor, Arewa coughed audibly. The microphone picked it. Some guests chuckled nervously. Others turned their heads. The uncle paused, confused. Arewa leaned toward the mic, toward the MC, and whispered something. The MC blinked, then smiled awkwardly. Arewa has asked that we skip the part where the woman is expected to kneel before her husband. She says respect is mutual and shouldn't be dramatized. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Timothy's stepmother lowered her head in shame. Ṣé ọmọlúwàbí? She muttered, but Timothy smiled like nothing happened. She's modern, he told himself. She doesn't like unnecessary traditions. When the time came for Arewa to dance with her in-laws, she refused. "My makeup artist said too much sweat will ruin my face," she explained. When Timothy's mother offered her a cup of wine to give her husband, as tradition demands, Arewa turned it down. "Wine is bitter. I don't drink bitter things," she said with a chuckle, then added, loud enough for all to hear, "But don't worry, I'll try not to be one." Laughter echoed, but it was uneasy laughter. Then came the final blow. During the vote of thanks, Timothy's elder brother took the microphone to appreciate everyone. "We thank you all for honoring us today," he said. "We pray this union brings joy to both families. We want to especially thank Arewa's parents for giving us such a beautiful, virtuous daughter." Before he could continue, Arewa's father stood up from his chair. "No need to thank us," he said, voice flat. All eyes turned. "She's not a gift," he continued. "She's a battle. And may God give this young man the strength to survive her." Silence fell on the entire hall. Even the band stopped playing. Timothy froze. Arewa turned sharply to her father. "Daddy," she shouted. But the old man raised his hand. "I've said my own." He walked out of the venue without another word. A few members of his family followed behind. Arewa stood stiff, eyes burning. Timothy could barely breathe. After the ceremony, in the small waiting room behind the stage, Arewa exploded. "How dare you embarrass me like that?" Timothy tried to calm her, wiping sweat from his brow. He didn't mean it. Maybe he was just overwhelmed. "Don't defend him," she screamed, pulling off her earrings. "I told them not to come. I knew something like this would happen. That man has hated me from birth." Her eyes flared toward Timothy. "And you? Why didn't you say anything?" "What was I supposed to say?" "You were supposed to protect me." Timothy dropped his voice. "Arewa, this is our wedding day. Can we just try to move past this?" She stared at him for a long time. Then she said coldly, "Just know this. I don't forget betrayers, not even silent ones." She stormed out of the room in full wedding gown, leaving him speechless behind her. Outside, the celebration continued, but something had shifted. People danced, but with courteous feet. Smiles were careful. Laughter was shallow. They had all seen it. The tension, the cracks, the pride, the warning. And though no one said it aloud, one question haunted the ear like incense. If this is the wedding, what will the marriage be? We'll continue the second part of this story in our next episode. Thank you for listening. And please, before you go, press the notification bell, subscribe to our channel, and give us a like. Thank you, and God bless.